It's the Morning Majlis.
It's the Morning Majlis, and continuing with our conversations about world of AI. This time we've got a dedicated forum of AI linguistics and global communication. And to talk to us in greater detail about this particular forum, we're very kindly joined by the Chancellor of American University of Sharjah, Tod Larsen. A very good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're looking forward to this. Now, all things AI, everyone gets confused in terms of where is the future of AI? AI in linguistics and global communication. What's this forum all about?
Well, it's first of all, I don't think the confusion is all that unusual. And one of the things AI experts will tell you is we don't all completely know where this is going to go. But I think what we saw as a university when we were planning this conference was we had some of the best Arabic translation and linguistic people in the country. We also had AI experts in engineering and in the sciences and in data science, but they didn't necessarily talk together day by day. And so we really thought there was an opportunity here, not only in our campus, but in society at large, to sort of investigate what the intersection of these topics would look like and how it would be important across sectors. And so that's really, to a large degree, that's what the symposium is about that we'll be hosting later this week.
And how do you envision that this conference is going to shape the academic curriculum at the American University of Sharjah, especially, when we're talking about integrating artificial intelligence and also the natural language processing, or the NLP, into linguistics and communication studies? How do you envision that?
Well, maybe just to pick a couple of things. One of the things we know, in both education and I think in society at large is the importance of chatbots, right? The importance of
it's taking over.
Being able to just kind of have this sort of automated mechanism by which maybe an independent learner, if we're talking about a student, or, maybe somebody who's just wanting to do continuing education or learn more about a topic out there, would like to be able to interact a little bit with an AI platform, and language is how you need to do that. Many of those platforms, I don't need probably to say it, in this part of the region are predicated on English, right? And, so having the ability to do that in the Arabic language, to take some of these natural language processing ideas and make them portable across languages. And the other thing about language, and I'm no linguist, so I need to be careful not to venture too far from my realm of expertise here, but there's so much nuance involved in linguistics too. And of course, this is the kind of thing that AI is good at if it's trained properly. And so, we really feel as though, there's an awareness out there that needs to be sort of set amongst people, whether they're in government, whether they're in industry, or whether they're just ordinary citizens, about what this technology can do. And of course, we selfishly in higher education, we want to tailor a lot of that too for the betterment of our students and for the development of future programs. So I think there's going to be widespread appeal for the topics that are discussed here, but I think it's particularly pertinent for higher education. If we're to remain current, this is something that we need to be leading the way in doing.
Definitely is. Now, we were very we were really privileged to host some of your students who won the UAE James Dyson Award for their sign language platform.
Yes.
It's amazing to see how much technology can benefit as well. And obviously, in turn, with this topic, in turn, benefit the academics. But one good thing about this forum that you're hosting is, yes, it is catering to scholars and people who are a bit more involved in linguistics, but it is open to the general public. So how can they take part in this forum?
No, that's right. And the website is out there. It's been posted. I'm sure you will push that out. And registration is easy. It's right there on the website, as is a schedule for the 2 days. And I think what people will find compelling, first of all, and we're extremely honored that His Highness Sheikh Sultan this is going to be under his patronage. So this is, and I think people are aware of his longstanding commitment to language and scholarship. And I think from everything I know, he's been tremendously excited about the opportunity to kind of blend that passion for those topics with technology in this conference. So because of his patronage, we're going to have some high-powered entities here. We're going to have Google here. We're going to have, many of the important high-tech companies internationally are going to be here speaking. We have several cabinet ministers here from the region. And really, I guess the way I'd like people to think about this, there is scientific content. We've had AUS professors who have been involved in vetting the papers and putting the sessions together for some of the parallel sessions. But this isn't just a scientific conference per se. We've tried to design this so that anyone from any sector can come in and, really get a feel for where this technology is today, what the exciting new directions are for it, and what some of the resources are going to be that'll be available to people to sort of, whether it's upskilling themselves, upskilling their workforce, or just changing their business models to sort of take advantage of the newest development. So I think this is going to be a conference for the curious. I think people will be able to come and we'll see that they'll really get current, up-to-date and exciting content that they can apply in their own lives, regardless of what sector they may be coming from.
Are there any kind of challenges that you can highlight on when it comes to, embracing the latest technologies in the field of linguistics?
So I think a lot of it is fear.
True.
I think a lot of it is fear, and it's probably a human emotion. I mean, I spent, prior to coming to AUS, I was provost of the State University of New York system in New York for a while. And we talked a lot about this, and, so flashback 5 years. Now, this field has moved very fast. Things have happened in the last year or two I don't think we would have anticipated 5 years ago. But when you talk to people 5 years ago about AI, probably the primary concern was, is this going to outmode my job? Is this going to be something that's going to make what I do and what I'm passionate about kind of passé, right?
Obsolete.
So when you're scared, when you're scared about, your own future and your own ability to kind of keep up, I think that is a little bit of an impediment. So I think that's part of it. Part of it is also generational, I'll be honest. It's interesting. I've been to a couple of conferences in the last few weeks about this. Students are already there, by the way. You interviewed some of our students, but, the vast majority of our students, not only at AUS, but at other universities, they're already using these technologies,
True.
But if you look at the percentages of professors in universities who are using them, it's more like 30 or 40%. And there too, it's highly generational. The younger professors are going to be more likely to have played around a little with these technologies, perhaps, than folks in my generation, let's say. So I do think that in a way is one of our primary challenges. Is, if you're my most fascinating conversation with anybody about this topic was at a forum in Dubai with a professor from Columbia University in New York. And she teaches writing at Columbia. She works for the UN, which is why she was here, but she's an adjunct professor at Columbia and teaches writing. She said in the last year, something changed. And she was not an AI person.
Right.
But she said something had changed. I could tell that my students were not necessarily writing in their own voice, right?
Oh, yeah.
So clearly there were other agents involved in them doing the work that they were doing, and I kind of realized I've got to catch up with this. I've got to get my arms around this. I've got to figure out, to be in denial about your students, having access to these tools and wanting to use them, that it's not a winning strategy to be in denial about that. But I think one of the things that, at least in our business, professors are trying to do now is figure out, okay, how can I use this as a learning tool? If I spend all my time being obsessed about, are they plagiarizing? Is this really their own work? Not that these are unimportant things, but probably part of our job is going to be to teach people how to use these tools ethically and responsibly, right?
Exactly,
So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I think to a large extent, if you're a professor, university administrator like myself, we're thinking now about our back office functions, and how do we, for example, provide better student services to people? How do we improve our admissions processes? How do we look at student success and where roadblocks might be in the curriculum? All of these are things that AI has the ability to enable us to do better. And so to an extent, I think, just to sort of summarize, we have to catch up with our students to a little bit, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, when ChatGPT was obviously introduced, a lot of skepticism in the educational field was outright just ban it. And then now we're getting into the mode of let's live with it, because it is going to be part of our lives. And now universities are known to be very traditional, very laid back in their approach, and they're sticking to the roots in terms of education. But how does a conference like this really benefit a university? And why are you partnering and producing this forum?
Well, I think first and foremost, the thing that comes to my mind there is that universities need to have very good interfaces with the society and the communities that house them, right? And this is something that, at AUS we pride ourselves in, and I mentioned, in our conversation outside before we came in, how important employer reputation is, to us in terms of satisfaction with our graduates and making sure that they do well when they leave. That doesn't happen magically. You have to have relationships with the people who hire your students. You have to have relationships with the community that they enter and that they become citizens in. And so I think a conference like this, that's an important mechanism, and what's great about a conference like this, too, is that the conversation is not just one way. And in fact, if anything, we as a university may be doing more listening than talking. We'll have, obviously, some experts who will be giving some of the talks. But, when you have government ministers, when you have people from industry, when you have people from society talking about how they're using these technologies, talking about the challenges that they're running up against and trying to employ them, that's very helpful to us, and it helps inform the educational programs that we'll design in the future, too, to make sure that they're relevant.
Well, it's incredible. I want to get your word of advice on how the attendees can make the most of attending this event.
Yeah, I think the main thing I would suggest, and I know it comes on a Thursday and Friday, and in a very busy week of the year, there are lots of things going on in the UAE. But I think with an event like this, it's really designed. It's probably not the kind of event that you're just going to be able to dip in and dip out, and feel like you've gotten much out of it. I think if you're able to devote half a day or a day at least and be able to come and kind of immerse yourself a little bit, you're likely to get more out of it. I don't think that the number of attendees is so large that it'll preclude meaningful interaction. And like any conference or symposium or summit, sometimes the break time is just as useful as the time in session. So the other advice I would give people is, it's a relatively small event. So take advantage of those break times, take advantage of the times in between events, introduce yourself to speakers, find out more about what they're doing. I think that's kind of the secret. We talked a little bit about fear in some people's minds of these technologies, or at least unfamiliarity. Maybe fear is a little bit too strong. But I think, to become acquainted personally with what their possibilities are, and to talk a little bit with the people who are using them to do a variety of things, I think should really be exciting. And I'm hoping people will have fun with it and just engage it.
And that's the best thing about it, accessibility, isn't it? So you don't have to be an expert to enjoy this forum. It could be a person who's trying to learn.
That's
could be like us,
right.
Trying to embrace it.
Like me.
There you have it. So listeners out there, all you have to do is register on AI-linguisticsconference.com, and that's going to take you to the registration page for you to sign up for this. And we were very kindly, once again, a reminder, joined by the Chancellor of the American University of Sharjah, Tod Larsen, who joined us very kindly this morning to talk to us about this conference.
It was a great pleasure to meet both of you. Thank you for having me. And to everyone out there, I hope you enjoy the conference this week. I think it'll be a very exciting one.
Definitely, and thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
All the very best. And we look forward to more conversations with Tod Larsen, as we will have lots of topics as well to throw at him towards the end of the year as well. Well, thank you all for tuning in. And you can catch this discussion as a podcast on our podcast platforms of SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.